Assalamualaikum, my name is Nurul Hidayah binti Husain, and now I will explain about chapter 5 answers. So for question A, this is the answer. For the first step, there are two hypotheses. Null hypothesis stated that mean living cost of customer is less or equal to 3,000 ringgit, while for alternative hypothesis, it stated that mean living cost of customers is more than 3,000 ringgit. So for the next step is to determine the decision rule. So for the p-value, I get 0.0513. For the second step is level of significance, where alpha equals to 5%. Third step is on how to get the t-test, and this is the step and answers that I get, which is p-value is 0.0513. Lastly, for the step of conclusion, t-test is less or equal than critical value, t-test fail to reject null hypothesis, p-value is more than alpha, and the value of alpha fail to reject the null hypothesis. For the overall conclusion, there is no sufficient evidence to support the claim that the sample mean living cost is more than 3,000 ringgit. So this is question number 2, question B, where the question is about one-way ANOVA. So for the null hypothesis, it stated that there is no significant differences exist in vacation number per year among customer with different levels of education, while for alternative hypothesis, it stated that there is a significant differences exist in vacation number per year among customer with different levels of education. So next is the summary for ANOVA one-way factor, and this I have done through data analysis, and I select the data range of level of education in the data sheet. Okay, so now I move to critical F-test. The answer for critical F-test is 0.2414, where ANOVA F-test is less than critical value, and the critical value is 2.9223, where it failed to reject the null hypothesis. So for the overall conclusion, there is no significant differences exist in vacation number per year among customers with different levels of education. Okay, so now this is the last question. Question C is about the chi-square. The null hypothesis stated the preferences of education level and marital status are related. The alternative hypothesis stated the preferences of education level and marital status are not related. So, to create the first table, I use the pivot table and select data of respondent, status and level of education to create the table. And next, for the observed value, I just copy back the first table and paste it, because the observed table we use to find the estimated value. The formula for the value is row total times with column total divide by grand total. And now for the chi-square test statistics can be get at the grand total, where the grand total, as we can see, is 11.5551. And lastly, for the overall conclusion, the preference of education level and marital status are not related. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurul Wahidah binti Suliman. I'm going to present for chapter 6 for lab 2 assignment. And for the answer for the question A, we can see there is a correlation. As we know, the higher the correlation value from -1 to n +1, the stronger is the relationship between the variables. A rule of thumb used by experts is that an absolute value of more than 0.7 or 0.8 may imply multicollinearity. As we can see there for question B, there are no multicollinearity issues among the independent variables, because we can see that here from the correlation value there is not value that more than 0.7. So the multicollinearity has no issues among the independent variable. And for the question C, we can see that this is a regression equation for this question, and this is 0.101A is unemployment rate, and -0.3053 is interest rate, 0.0367 is trade percent, and the last one is 0.2114 for inflation rate. And for the question D, this is regression analysis. From this, we can see that multiple regression 0.34 0.82, which below 0. So it indicates a negative correlation for multiple R. And for the R square, there is 0.12. This indicates that 12% of the variation in growth is explained by the independent variable. And the best multiple regression model for predicting the number of economic growth in Malaysia is inflation rate because it shows higher and good correlation by 0.4249 than others. And it doesn't use the same variables in part C because there is 5 dependent variable and part D has 4 independent variables. And here is the answer for question E. This is a regression analysis we got from data. We got from data analysis, and we choose the analysis and we choose regression, and we include the input for Y range and X range. Y range is a growth and X is another independent variables. And here is the histogram that we got from data analysis. Histogram, we include the standard residuals and observation mean. So here we got from this data analysis for the histogram. And here there is frequency and bin. This is histogram for the standard residuals. This is frequency and observation. It's a range from -3 to 3. So thank you. That's all from me.